Good morning to all our listeners and welcome back to another episode of the 411. I'm your host Michael and today's topic is process, progress and success. Today we have with us the man himself, Mr. Clifton Reader, Director of Moon Palace Resort. Of course, Moon Palace, Jamaica for those of you who call it different. Now before we begin, remember to follow us on our social platforms. Links will be in the description below. Now, I'm going to start with just one simple question, Mr. Reader, and what motivates you?
Well, I'm motivated by many things, but for me, what really drives me is to see other people's success.
Right.
Because I always try to educate my team, to make sure that they have the tools and everything. And when I see especially some of them getting better than I am, that's a big motivation.
All right, and that's good. Because when I just came here, I remembered I was asking somebody, how do you get a promotion? Because I don't want to be at the same place 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years. I want to be promoted. I want to climb the ladder. And so I was saying, education should be a key, and what you just said confirmed that, of course. So do you believe that as for younger people who are aspiring to work at the Palace Resort, what do you look for in an employee?
It's mainly the attitude, because sometimes employees come in, and especially if they come with, say, 5 years experience, 3 years experience, what you want to check, whether the 5 years experience is 1 year experience 5 times, or 5 years experience. But no matter how educated a person is, you have educated fools out there. So you have to make sure that whoever you're employing, that they have the right attitude. And as they say, it will take you places once, some people believe that they should come in and they should be bullish and they should be knocking down doors and whatever. You learn a lot more from the feet of people than standing looking them in the eyes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you heard that, I feel like we just did a whole closing. That should be a closing statement for us. However, we're not done just yet. What was just coming to my mind is, you are an exemplary leader. I've seen that, I've noticed, and I've observed you, of course. What I've seen is, the question that I want to ask is, how do you stay exclusive? Because you're able to, mingle properly, smoothly with every single person, no matter what their position is or title, maybe. How is it that you stay exclusive?
I do that, but respect, I tell anybody, whether it's a foreigner or whoever they are, once you work with people, respect is the main thing. And I am able to mingle because I came up through the ranks.
Right.
I understand people, I have studied people, and by making people comfortable, people will do anything you ask them to do. By respecting people will go the extra mile for you. But you must also draw that line where you never get too friendly with people. And by friendly, I mean opening up yourself too much as a manager, because you have to remember the person you mingle with just now, you may have to discipline down the line. And the person must understand that. You must understand that. Or else you're going to fall in the trap where you're managing friends, and that's dangerous.
Wow. That's interesting because, did you see yourself always working in tourism?
It's strange that you asked that question. I remember working in the Turks and Caicos Islands a couple of years ago, and a guest pulled me over and said, "What did you want to be when you were growing up?" And I said, "Medical doctor." And the guest said, "Well, you have achieved your goal." And I was like, how come? And the guest said, "Well, when you look at it, why people come to hotels? Because they're stressed, right?
Right.
He said, aren't you on call constantly? I said, yes. And doctors? You know, because when you look, people come to hotels to rejuvenate themselves.
Right.
And when you look at the operation of a hotel and the operation of a hospital, there ain't much difference.
That's true.
You know, people come in, they check in and they check out.
Right.
Well, for the hospital, some of them. But for the hotels, it is something that we make sure that when you come into a hotel, you have to treat people a different way than them staying in their homes or whatever. So it's that care that a doctor will give that a hotel manager must give.
All of your answers are just so perfect. There's this question. So what was it like during the transformation from Sunset Jamaica Grand to Moon Palace Jamaica?
That was a most difficult time for me, especially because I was working with a family, the Hendrickson family at the time, Mr. and Mrs. Carr, part of the family as well, and they treated us as family. And I was worried until Mr. Carl Hendrickson came to me one day and said, many people offered to buy the hotel, even at, more money than I got for it. But I chose to sell it to a family rather than a corporation. And that settled my decision that I was moving from one family to the next. And it didn't disappoint because we went to Cancun for a month to live in the hotel over there to be sensitized as the palace. And the most amazing thing happened the first 3 days. Every single member of the family came out and spent 3 days with us just to welcome us during our orientation to the company. They would have breakfast with us, lunch with us, and just carry us through the day. So we felt comfortable, and that's how I personally decided to join and stay with Palace.
Wow, it's an amazing story. Where do you see yourself or Palace in about 5 years?
Well, Palace is a growing company, constantly expanding. That question was asked of every single employee when we transitioned between Jamaica Grand, Sunset, and Palace. And the question was, so where do you see yourself in 3 years' time? And I said on the paper that I would like to be a director in charge of more than one properties. And almost 3 years on the mark. We joined in September, and 3 years, November, I was made a director with the company. It wasn't easy, hard work, because a person like myself, years of experience,
right,
but working for a non-Jamaican company, working for a company that, you were benchmarking based on other companies locally, and seeing how those companies treated their workers and almost was expecting the same, only to be blown away with how different things are with Palace. The care Palace put in their people to make sure. I remember the first blown away event for me with Palace was when the owner said to us, look here, how much will insurance cost for the team members? And we started to categorize based on the law so that casuals generally would not get life insurance or health insurance. And he looked at us and he said, look here, once you work for me for a day, you get life insurance, you get health insurance. So that took away a burden from people to know that they could be with the company for a year as a casual and no life insurance, no health insurance. And I think that's one of the biggest pull for employees to join Palace, because they know that from day one, they have an assurance that if they're sick, they can go to the doctor, and 80% of the bill generally is taken care of.
So easy. You know, a question that I've always asked myself, I've never actually ever asked anyone this, you know, but for me, when it comes to transitioning, it is not that it is hard, but I don't know how I do it. Could you explain how you do it, like on a normal transitioning with anything, whatever it is?
Let me use transitioning from Sunset to Palace. At the opening of Palace, I remember I had to make a speech for the opening. And one of the remarks I made, which was used later at the convention of Palace in Cancun, is that we had a wonderful sunset, and now the moon is rising.
Wow.
Right? And it totally shows what happened in a transition, because people came over to Palace and people started to embrace Palace. There were a lot of fears. There were a lot of anxieties because people did not know what to expect. And some of the sunset things changed. And people were like, this is not sunset, this is not sunset. But you have to be a person to embrace change. I mean, the first 2 years were probably the most difficult time for me, transitioning a team of 350 people who are used to sunset and coming over to Palace. Palace difference was, I think, it's more of a rule-based company, and everything has a standard. You know, so we were also moving from 3-star to 5-star. It so happened that I've had experience working 10 years before I came to Sunset. 10 years working in a 5-star company. So I was able basically to just do that transition with the team, held the hands of many going through. Some of them basically gave up and said, look here, I can't be bothered with all those rules and regulations and standards, whatever. And they went to other company, and 5 years later, I think they're regretting it, because Palace has really blossomed. Palace has really helped a lot of people. When I look at the acquisition of some people, and that's another thing that really motivates me, to see the success of people over the 5 years. They've really put their monies to good use. How many people owned homes as a result, own their own cars? To me, that's success. People have taken advantage of some of the programs of Palace, and they've educated themselves. I mean, I am just in the process now of tying up scholarships, and the last time we issued scholarships was like about 34, I think it was about 34, 40 scholarships. And we're doing the same thing this year again, by just making sure that those people who are out there who generally would not get a chance to educate themselves, that we will be able to do that for them.
I think you should work for MP, but that's another story for another time. Do you have any advice for younger people that are just coming into, tourism and not sure, that this is what they want, however, they have a passion for it?
The good thing about tourism these days is that you can test run it to find out if that's really what you want. Because it's a typical industry that looks glamorous. And a lot of people want to come inside there because it's glamorous. Friends of mine used to be in Kingston, and at 6:30, hey Clifton, what are you doing? I'm passing through Ocho Rios. Let's go have a drink. Oh boy, I can't. I have a dinner with some clients. You see, you guys just enjoying yourself. No thought that I might have been at the hotel from 8 in the morning, probably take a break, or sometimes you don't get a break, and you have to go sit at a dinner, talking business, going through like it's the beginning of another day. I mean, it's long hours, but they can be rewarding hours. So it's best that people coming in know exactly what they want and they're not coming in for the frills of the industry. Because if you do that, by the time you reach to my level, if you're in for the frills, you're gonna be broke. Right? Because it lends itself to partying, it lends itself to all sorts of things. Because when you look what you have at your fingertips, right? But the real power in life is to have the things, but not take advantage of them. And people don't realize that. People think that power is having all these privileges and utilizing every single one of them. You utilize them when you need to. And that's what a lot of people fail to realize. And that's why in life, you see some people get success and some people don't.
You know, a wise man once said, in regards to money, when you have it, you don't spend it. And when you don't have it, you spend it. Do you know which wise man that is?
I'm not sure.
That was you.
Oh, okay.
Those were your words.
You see, because I remember another version of it. Money is a tricky thing, right? And you have to be careful with money. The more you give away things, believe me, the more you get. And my life is proof of that, because a lot of people look at me in this position and say, oh, he just got there. I've been in the industry now for more than 35 years, and it has been hard work, sacrifice, dedication. But at every stage that I could give somebody something, I give. I'm to the point now where I can traverse Jamaica without a cent in my pocket. All I need to have is my cell phone. And wherever I'm in Jamaica, there's a student, there's somebody who I did something good for, who will help me no matter what. And that's what counts. That's real wealth when you look at it. Because I remember being in Kingston and my car got punctured, and typically me, I don't travel with money. And I pick up the phone, call somebody, the person came, sorted out everything, and then I back my way to Ocho Rios. Right? So sometimes money is not the important thing. I'm gonna share a video with you after this that I shared with the managers. And it's about Earth, that coronavirus has caged us. And at the end of it, he said, when we are released, we must remember who is in charge, not us. Mother Nature is superior to us. And it's things like that people put too much interest in themselves, because you will see me walk through this hotel and you will never know who I am, because I wear the same uniform as pretty much everybody else. So, and that's a palace thing as well. In fact, I probably am the only one with my full name and my name badge, because most people is just their first name that is there. But palace neutralize everybody. So the ego, that kind of power trip and whatever, is not there. So when somebody introduced me to a guest or whatever, it is my presence, it is my experience felt by the guest that makes the difference, not the jacket and tie that I wear.
That's true. The title does not make the man.
It doesn't.
The man makes the title. No, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, so we can have this conversation. I'm sure it's gonna touch a lot of people that are working in the tourism industry, and those of you who want to work in the tourism industry. Once again, thank you for listening to the 411 on process, progress, and success. I'm your host, Michael, featured with Dr. Clifton Reader. Peace out.